Good evening to you. My name is Reagan, Vignes, and thank you for joining us right here on From the South. We begin with the FARC delegation at the Colombian peace talks, which thanked the select regional body for its role in supporting the peace process. Speaking from Havana, the rebel group highlighted the importance of the regional body and said that peace in Colombia will benefit all the region.
Wholeheartedly, thanks to the community of Latin American and Caribbean states for their solidarity with Colombia. The people of our America and the people of the world have the right to live in peace.
And time is running out for Colombia's second largest guerrilla group, the National Liberation Army, or ELN, to be part of a political solution for the country's armed conflict. This was a warning by the chief of the peace talks government delegation.
The national government has provided clear options to the ELN to continue peace talks, but until today we have not received any response. Time is running out for the ELN to be part of the political solution to Colombia's armed conflict.
As the Aedes aegypti mosquito continues its spread of the Zika virus throughout the region, the figures of those infected in Colombia are rising. Natalia Margarita reports from Bogota.
More than 20,000 cases of the mosquito-borne Zika virus have been confirmed by Colombia's National Health Institute, placing the country as the second worst hit by the Zika outbreak after Brazil, which has reported some 1.5 million cases.
The virus is transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito that is found at altitudes lower than 2,200 meters above sea level. This means that all territories below this altitude are susceptible to the virus. This includes the coastal areas and the jungle.
In fact, the majority of the cases have been reported in Colombia's Caribbean region, as well as in the eastern state that border Venezuela. Experts in public health have also pointed out to the social conditions of the most affected areas.
Those areas happen to be the poor ones, where there is no channeling of potable water, so the little water that the people manage to get, they have to store it. Obviously, that's where the mosquito easily breeds. It is people's precarious living conditions that encourage mosquito reproduction and the spreading of the virus.
Even though the Colombian authorities have sounded alarms and issued recommendations to citizens such as delaying pregnancy for 6 to 8 months, experts believe the measures should go further.
To issue recommendations is not enough. Immediate response teams, as well as sanitation teams, should be ready to attend the most affected areas, to destroy mosquito breeding places, and to carry out fumigation or biological controls, as well as other measures.
As the Zika virus has been linked to the birth defect microcephaly, one of the biggest concerns at the moment is that the number of Colombian pregnant women infected by the virus has doubled in a week, with over 2,000 cases reported. Natalia Margarita, teleSur, Bogotá.
In Brazil, the government has declared a national emergency due to the Zika virus outbreak. President Dilma Rousseff addressed Congress, explaining that all government ministries will direct resources to fighting the spread of the virus. President Rousseff also detailed that she's discussing joint responses from countries from throughout the continent, including the United States. And Bolivian President Evo Morales visited Brasilia to meet with President Rousseff. Both neighboring countries agreed to join forces to stem the spread of the virus. But Rousseff also announced that Brazil will back Bolivia's efforts in developing as an energy hub in South America, as well as working together in the Transoceanic Railway project. 30% of natural gas used in Brazil comes from Bolivia. Also in Bolivia, after the government announced it would implement a new unified utility tax, truck drivers are demanding that the tax be reduced. The transport companies claim that the cost of the tax is too much for them. In protest, the truckers have blocked important routes connecting Bolivia to its neighbors, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Peru. The Argentine government announced that it has reached a preliminary deal with a group of creditors which make a part of the so-called vulture funds. Under the deal, the government will pay $900 million to a group of Italian creditors. Critics have seen the deal as capitulating to the creditors. Despite the government's narrative that the debt had to be paid, the finance minister, Alonso Platge, admitted that the vulture funds are making disproportionate demands.
The difficulty that we are having right now is that there are some bondholders who want to get paid an interest rate that is unacceptable under any criteria of justice. That's why we are making the discussion about interest rate, and that's why the agreement with the Italian holders is very important, because the interest that we will pay is a third of what the sentence asked for.
Es la tercera parte de lo que tenía la sentencia.
Meanwhile, a group of residents in one of Buenos Aires' shanty towns is officially denouncing the federal police after they shot rubber bullets at a group of Murga students. The clash took place while the police were allegedly investigating a suspicious car in the area. The students and their teachers were wounded by the rubber bullets and have taken their case to the Attorney General. In Costa Rica, the private transportation company Uber has sparked an 8-hour protest from taxi drivers. Uber began operating last year and has since caused some controversy. The taxi drivers demanded that the government block the mobile phone app, but the government says that it cannot do that. The taxi drivers say they cannot compete against the app's prices. Cuban President Raul Castro was greeted by the French Senate as part of his second day in the European nation. Castro is seeking to strengthen commercial and diplomatic ties with France. His visit has focused on seeking investments, and both he and French President François Hollande have signed agreements regarding bilateral cooperation and the installation of the French aid agency in Cuba. Last night, the Iowa caucuses in the United States announced the results in what has been a very heated race to define presidential candidates. But the most surprising result was the virtual tie between Democratic candidates Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Clinton won by a narrow 0.3% margin over Sanders, but the result has not stopped the Vermont senator's momentum. Aides of the candidate revealed to the press that they could be requesting a recount of the delegates' votes, as many contested districts were decided by coin tossing. With more on last night's results, we go to our correspondent Bianca Perez reporting from Washington.
The results for the Iowa caucuses, which took place Monday night, are in this morning. On the Democratic side, it is a very small margin of difference between candidate Hillary Clinton as well as Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton had just a 0.3% advantage over Bernie Sanders. Many have declared this a virtual tie. Some supporters of Hillary Clinton, of course, are claiming her clear victory. It is interesting to see exactly which side will play out in the New Hampshire primaries, where Bernie Sanders has thus far a 31-point lead over Hillary Clinton in recent polls. We will see who has the victory in New Hampshire, which will be coming up just a week from today. Also, on the Republican side, a few surprises. Many expected Donald Trump, who's had a clear advantage over Ted Cruz in Iowa for the past couple of polls, to be the winner. But Ted Cruz actually came out on top with a 28% victory, followed by Donald Trump with a 24% victory. And one of the biggest surprises was the performance of Marco Rubio. He came in just 1% behind Donald Trump at 23%, which shows that, you know, these three are the ones who are going to be battling it out. Also in New Hampshire, we will see how this plays out. As far as candidates who decided that they will no longer be in the candidacy, Martin O'Malley on the Democratic side and Mike Huckabee both announced that they will no longer be running their campaigns after the Iowa caucuses results. Bianca Perez, teleSur, Washington, D.C.
The World Health Organization has created a global unit to respond to the Zika virus. The creation of the unit comes out of great concern that the disease, which has been blamed for a surge in birth defects in South America, could spread across Africa and Asia. The global unit brings together all personnel of the WHO's headquarters for a coordinated and formal response which will target the spread of the virus. The Syrian peace talks have not yet officially started in Switzerland. This is the opinion of the Syrian delegation currently in Geneva. According to the group, they are in a, quote, preparatory phase. They claim that they are still waiting for the names of the opposition participants as well as the agenda. Major clothing brands such as H&M and Next are using Syrian child laborers in Turkey to produce their goods. A report by the Business and Human Rights Resource Center also revealed that Syrian refugees are paid low wages and are being sexually abused. The United Nations Children Agency, UNICEF, has published new figures on the refugee crisis, showing that a third of the refugees trying to reach Europe by sea are children. The report has raised concerns as recent figures reveal that 60 children were among 272 who died trying to cross from Turkey to Greece by sea in January alone. Palestine's Legislative Council is marking 10 years of Israeli blockade, and once more they call for the lifting of what they refer to as a siege on the Gaza Strip. teleSur's explains.
The Palestinian Legislative Council in the Gaza Strip held a press conference at its headquarters in western Gaza City Tuesday morning to mark 10 years of tightened Israeli blockade on the coastal enclave. Acting Speaker of the PLC in the Gaza Strip, Dr. Ahmed Bahr, delivered a speech in which he argued the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to bear their responsibilities in lifting the siege imposed on the besieged Gaza Strip.
We appeal to the Arab League to implement a decision it took in 2009 for lifting the siege imposed on the Gaza Strip. We also urge the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Arab leaders, the Islamic and Arab parliaments to bear their responsibility regarding the dire humanitarian conditions of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip due to the Israeli blockade.
Israel imposed a land, sea and air blockade on the Gaza Strip since Hamas took over power from its rival Fatah Party in 2007. The siege has taken many forms over the years. However, the chokehold on the territory is still in place and people here are struggling to live. Meanwhile, Israel has used security as a pretext for imposing restrictions on the movement of goods and individuals through its border crossings. This measure resulted in banning essential materials such as fuel, wood or iron entry into the coastal enclave. In a future blow, the closure of the Rafah crossing by the Egyptian authorities worsened the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. Despite the crisis that hits one of the most highly populated areas on Earth, and that includes unemployment, poverty, wars, destruction, and a shortage of power and water supplies, Gaza's population still hope the better should come. Noharazin, teleSur TV, Gaza.
David Cameron has hailed the EU's new settlement proposal addressing all 4 areas where the British Prime Minister demanded reform. Those were in migration, borders, single currency and closer integration. Cameron said the referendum could take place in a few months. The King of Spain has given his blessing to socialist leader Pedro Sanchez to form a new government. The go-ahead from the King comes as current Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, who is aspiring to a new term, has admitted that he does not have the support needed to continue in office. Two demonstrators were shot dead and several more wounded in Karachi's international airport, where clashes broke out between security forces and staff from the national airline while they were protesting privatization plans. The government announced that it plans to sell the airplane by July this year. Barcelona star Neymar appeared at Spain's national court to give evidence in the murky case of the deal which brought the Brazilian to Catalan giants from Santos back in 2013. The player and the team are being investigated for allegedly cheating a Brazilian investment group out of the transaction benefits. The group claims it was entitled to 40% of the transfer fee. However, both Barcelona and Neymar are denying any wrongdoing. And that's how we wrap for this evening. You can join us on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. And for further developing stories, you can join us on our website, telesurtv.net/English. From all of us here at teleSur, have a great evening.